And we're live, and thus drawing a close to the 21st day of the 21st year on the 12th month. Yes.
Of the 21st century. How did you screw that up? It was handed to you.
Yeah, because I'm bad at what I do, and we all know this. Okay, so...
Just one more.
I know, I had it going in, and then I lost it. Okay, I feel I hate myself. And then there's this frickin' dude. Okay, so welcome to Brony Debates Live, everyone. This will be the last stream of the year. I hope you're all doing well. We're coming live on Tuesday because Friday is going to be Christmas Eve, and I'm not going to have access to my computers. So, yeah, we're doing it tonight. I hope you're all doing good. We've got a jam-packed panel tonight, especially the gentleman who suggested tonight's topic, Is Originality Dead? Mr. Silverquill, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How's everybody?
I'm doing pretty good.
A little out of breath, but I'm slowly catching it.
Indeed. We also got Concert Cruizer joining us tonight, who is out of breath from running here so fast. How are you doing?
Still out of breath.
All right, well, slow through the nose and out through the mouth.
Well, anyway, I am doing fine. Had a pretty cool weekend. So now we got Christmas coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Joining us for the first time is one of the new patrons to the server. She was on Friday Night Fights last week. Miss Sofia, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Is that Hatsune Miku?
Sorry I missed that.
Yeah, are you Hatsune Miku?
Maybe.
All right.
Yes, I'm not hearing denial.
I don't like those implications.
Contracts, man. She can't say too much.
All right. Well, screw tonight's original topic. Now we're debating, is Sofia Hatsune Miku in disguise?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. That was a good debate. Cordero, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Whoa. We're in a horror film now. All right, who's dead?
Red Sus.
Host, always.
All right. So, yeah, Cordero, how are you doing tonight?
Still good. Is there another drop? Do you
I
have more horror drops for me?
Let's not encourage that. And DJ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Merry Christmas to one and all.
Indeed, Merry Christmas. I'm looking forward to it. Gonna take a nice long road trip tomorrow and get a, I think, well-earned week-long vacation. Now then, before we get too much deeper into it, let's give a shout-out to my very generous supporters on Patreon, especially those on the $10 and up tier, such as Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministries, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Kyle Christensen, DJ Skywalker, who's with us tonight, Zaragamba, Rein-Kun, Morningstar, Pony Cordero, who's with us tonight, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden and MacManx, Easy Mode Gamer, Sofia, who's with us tonight, and Dark Malcontent, author of the Metaverse series. Please check out all of their links in the description. And if you'd like to get on the show, I'd love to have you. Let's just get you on the Patreon for as little as $1 a month. And you can have all the fun annoying the heck out of me like these guys do in the Patreon Discord server. Now then, Silverquill, what made you want to talk about this topic tonight?
Hey, aren't I the one who suggested this?
I believe, yes.
It might have been, Silver suggested something else to me, and I got confused. I'm sorry. So, Cruizer, please forgive me. Why did you want to talk about this tonight?
You are not forgiven,
You're not forgiven.
sir.
I don't deserve forgiveness.
No, you don't.
You suck at games.
Because I just kept wondering, just this question in my head came up when I hear people say there's no, lack of originality. And I thought, well, how much originality is left? There's 8 billion people on the planet. God only knows how many of us are writers or composers or whatnot. Is it quite possible that maybe we've used up every single avenue for creativity?
So the first thing that comes to my head when I think of things like that is obviously The Hero with 1,000 Faces and The Simpsons did it. So those are the two, one is a book and the other is a fairly common meme in American culture. So let's go around the table and get some opening thoughts here. I don't think originality is dead. I think it's impossible to really try all of the combinations, but that being said, there's only so many root concepts that come from humanity and what we can write about, and then everything else outside of that is just what we can add to it or how we can twist it and how we can add other concepts to make something different. Sophia, what do you think?
I think it's just since we're like everybody is different in their own special way.
I don't
Like,
think that's
there's
the
some-
type of originality we're talking about here. I think we're talking about in terms of like popular storytelling.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're talking about movies, music, video games, comics, books.
Yeah, I'm more like the video games.
Okay, so is originality dead?
I don't think on the video game topic, no.
All right, why is that?
Because, because there's like probably, I don't know, like 10,000-ish different games for a whole bunch of systems that some are for even maybe for like the old systems, like for the Nintendo 64.
Okay. But we've got so many different genres, so just keep a pin in that, and we'll come back to it. Silver Quill, is originality dead?
I say thee nay.
Why so?
Why so? Because well, first of all, I think it's a question of how are people defining originality. If you're looking for a story that has absolutely never been heard of, I hate to tell you this, but there are technically only 7 stories. As quoted by Christopher Booker, there is 1, Overcoming the Monster, 2, Rags to Riches, 3, The Quest, 4, Voyage and Return, 5, Rebirth, 6, Comedy, and 7, Tragedy. Or you can make it even more basic. If you a list by a guy named Foster Harris in 1959, he only grouped things by 3 endings: happy ending, unhappy ending, tragedy. That last one seems a bit redundant. But basically, people have been saying there's only a set number of stories that can be told. Rather, originality lies in the expression thereof. And even with the nostalgia craze that has taken over a good deal of entertainment lately, I find that there are still very original and innovative ways to express that.
Interesting. Cordero, what do you think?
Silver Quill brought up a lot of stuff that I was going to talk about on that point, which is pretty interesting because I darn well hope that originality is dead. Originality is super overrated, and it's what killed modern media to begin with. This whole problem of like everything is a reboot or is a well-known franchise, that is a symptom that came out of the originality plague of the early internet and early 2000s era, because there was this like we all complain about, oh my god, they're rebooting X again. The reason that they're doing that is because there was a time period where we refuse to accept anything that was original. It's like stuff that people would try to make something new, and it's like, oh, it's so obvious. Oh, I've heard it. I've seen this before. All of that crap. So finally, Hollywood and media was just like, all right, screw it. The only thing that we know will sell is stuff that people already know that they like, and they just started recycling that to us. But like, I hate this meme. If you remember this early 2000 meme that like that everything is predictable. The fact that the TV Tropes website exists. You guys remember TV Tropes?
Yep.
Yeah.
.com or whatever. Yeah, that site exists, but as a negative, maybe not always, because it's kind of like a database showing everything, but people use tropes as like a negative thing. It's like, oh, that's this trope that's been done, or that's that trope that's been done. When really all a trope is just stuff that's worked before, or just ideas or concepts that's done. And basically, how can I wrap this up? Originality is just this idea that everything has to be different. And like Silver Quill said, there's only 7 real stories. Like, whatever story you want to be told, it's already been told by someone else in some way, shape, form, or another. And there's just not enough emphasis on execution. Yes, originality is dead. It killed media. We need to let it die for real and just focus on good execution, because that's all that has ever mattered, is telling a good story.
All right, so let's DJ, what do you think? Is originality dead?
But actually, no.
Okay, so you're just adding on to what Cordero says and saying it's not actually dead?
I don't think it's dead in the way people would usually think of originality, but it's basically building off what they said, is it's down to execution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's bring this back to Cruizer. So, Cruizer, can you define originality for us and tell us what you think about what we've said around the table?
Basically, in its purest form, I do think it's dead. Because I think every single good idea, every bad idea, even every mediocre idea has been done. I don't really think there's anything new you could do to make something brand spanking new. For heaven's sakes, there's actually a movie out there that's about a voodoo zombie called Butt Crack.
Okay. I swear to God, only you would know about something like that, but please go on.
Hundreds of Trauma fans. Well, hundreds of Trauma fans would. But just basically, that's what I mean. I think in its purest form, the idea of coming up with something totally new that no one has ever seen before from a story, yeah, I think in that sense, it's dead. I mean, a lot of people regard like something like the original Star Wars trilogy as, was definitely good for its time. But however, George Clooney did borrow from a lot of different
George Clooney.
Lucas Clooney, whatever.
You said it right, and you changed it to wrong in the most hilarious way.
Yes,
George
thank
Clooney's
you.
a Star Wars story. Can we watch that?
He'll be better than his Batman story.
But it will involve a lot of pausing and looking down, super serious.
I'm Han Solo.
Imagining Jar Jar doing that.
I'm Han Solo. I'm a renegade. Yeah, that's me, Han Solo. What you gonna do?
All right, so
Clooney, the Star Wars story.
Okay, what were you saying there, Cruiser?
Yeah, basically, I don't think there's anything new that anybody could come up with that has never been thought of. I think every good, bad, mediocre idea has been done, and that's at least that's at least how I see it.
Okay, so then how would you define originality?
Like I said, brand spanking new, something that no one's ever thought of.
Okay, so who would like to tackle what Cruiser has said and add or take away anything to it?
Yo.
Go for it.
Bring it on, Pigeon Man.
All right, we're gearing up.
Take it away, Dirt Bird.
Okay, well, like we said, we have the argument that there are only 7 original stories. Ergo, there hasn't been anything original for several centuries then, because we've had those tales. Now, let's say something brand spanking new. Cruiser.
Yes.
What would you say about Avatar?
Which one?
The movie. 10 years ago, according to Scott Mendelson of Forbes, 10 years ago, Avatar was the one last original blockbuster before nostalgia conquered Hollywood. I'm quoting the actual article title here. Would you call Avatar original?
I call it Fern Gully in space.
All right, so do you think
that's a no then?
I'm surprised you didn't go with Dances with Wolves in Space.
That's been done by South Park. Or Dancing with Smurfs, I should say.
There's also Pocahontas to consider.
So you have the same idea, but How many stories then fall under the whole guy becomes a champion of a diminishing environment?
Well, there's more than I assume. There's got to be more than at least a few.
More, I would agree with you. So, if the criteria for originality is brand spanking new, a lot of elements of Avatar were the forest, jungle, the characters designed, not necessarily the character expression. People were in awe of this universe, so there is perhaps a hint of originality, but the story is recognizable. And you can play that to just about anything that's out right now. I don't think it's possible to put something out there and have someone say, oh yeah, that's just like da-da. Agreed?
You cut out there. Can you repeat that, please?
I don't think it's possible to put forth any story right now and not have someone draw a comparison to another story.
Oh, 100%.
Yes. But we can celebrate other ways of original expression. For all the tired tropes or cliche expressions in Avatar, people loved the world, this grand spectacle, yeah?
I'd say so.
Say so. Now let's think of another original story, one of the last original blockbusters. Oddly enough, I was watching Bennett the Sage last night, and he was talking about Armageddon, a 97 movie that was one of the last truly original blockbusters.
Yeah.
No, how shall I put it? No pre-existing intellectual property. No, you have to have watched this to get what's going on in this. It's just a standalone piece.
By that criteria, then I think Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights was the last original work.
And, well, there's that as well. Although you have to have heard the song.
That's very sad.
Now I have to ask you: is the story an asteroid about to hit Earth unique to Armageddon?
No, that was used in Deep Impact.
I think
Same year.
I think you can go even further back than that.
More than likely, that's just the first thing that came to my head.
So, again, the story may not be terribly unique, or at least the story concept, but do you recall some unique elements within that?
That song from Aerosmith.
What I'm hearing right now is that pretty much everything we're covering is a blend. There's nothing purely original, as in never even conceived of. And yet, within the structure of a story that may be familiar, there are original elements, stuff we have not seen. So I think your definition of original is a bit too rigid, because if we go by that definition, originality is truly dead. There is nothing wholly unexpectedly new.
So, and that kind of ties into, at least it sounds to me like it ties into what Cordero was saying during his opening statement. So, Cordero, am I on the right track here? Does what you say play into what Silver Quill just said?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting discussion because we're kind of like building on each other instead of like fighting each other a lot on this one. Because there's
the point of a debate.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure we'll disagree at some point.
I disagree with that.
There you go.
Sorry.
Let's agree to disagree. I don't agree to that. Speaking of sentence. Because there's nothing is new under the sun, but every new property is going to have something that's unique to that. And so, like, I guess you could say that's the originality we're looking for. Is what unique thing does the new property bring to the table? And I guess that's sort of the concept of originality we're trying to nail down. And I guess I'm just saying that's focused too much on. People are too focused on what new thing a new property can bring to the table. Because again, there's only 7 stories that have ever been told: Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter, Friends, Seinfeld, Garfield, and Sex and the City. Those are the 7 stories.
I agree with him.
Am I wrong?
And I love the Sex and the City movie.
You're not wrong, but could you you're not wrong, but could you have done it without killing Cruizer? We're only 20 minutes in here.
Well,
Yeah, I know.
All right, so Cruiser,
Yeah,
what do you? Go ahead and finish what you're
Sorry,
saying.
my big point tonight is everybody over-focuses on what a new property can bring to the table that's unique compared to what's been told before. And again, my whole thing tonight is going to be execution is more important. And my example of that is, remember when My Hero Academia came out?
No, I don't watch anime.
Well,
Yeah,
it's really good.
I don't watch that one.
Okay, it's really popular, and it should be popular. It's really good. It's the new Naruto, except if Naruto was good, basically. It's a very well done, told story. Nothing in that show is original. It's another high school superhero universe thing. And just like superheroes in general, when My Hero Academia came out, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Not another I'm so sick of Marvel. Superheroes are everywhere. One Punch Man had just come out and was super popular. And I'm like, no, we just had like the best anime superhero thing. I didn't want My Hero Academia when it was described to me. I'm like, talk about the opposite of original. This is tired and worn out. And then I ended up watching the first season, and I was like, holy crap, I love this. You know why I loved it so much? Because they just did a really, really good freaking job of telling a story, getting you to like characters, getting sucked into that universe, getting invested in those characters' success. And they did it so good that it didn't matter that they were beating a dead horse of a subject or a genre that the whole world was sick to death of. They just did it really well. And if you do it really well, that's what's going to make you stand out. Not any weird concept of originality. Just be good. Get good.
All right, so does anyone have anything they want to add or take away from that?
So what was it about it that they did that was so good?
Well, they get you sucked into Deku pretty fast, the main character, because like superheroes, like superpowers, all of that stuff's been done before. So you have to give a crap about who you're seeing. And they did a dichotomy between Deku and All Might, the hero that the young kid looks up to, and basically they sort of, I don't want to go into like the whole show, but they juxtaposed the two of them. They were some of the earliest characters that you dove into, and you were invested in both of them. And then when they sort of met up and their stories came together, you wanted to see how they could help each other. Like All Might was helping Deku become a hero, and Deku is the hope of the future, which All Might was looking for and was starting to lose hope, being literally the symbol of hope for all of humanity. That was his role as the greatest #1 hero in the world. But that's just an example. That's just like first episode, tip of the iceberg of why I liked it.
Okay, so here's a question, and we can keep this in My Hero Academia to sort of demonstrate the point here. But we've been talking a lot about how much execution matters in these kinds of things. So what had initially turned me off of My Hero Academia in terms of a story direction was when they gave Deku powers. Because what I was really hoping for in hearing the premise of it was instead of there's one superhero in a world full of normal people, now it's a world full of superheroes, and this one kid is completely otherwise normal, no powers. And what I was hoping for was a story that showed how someone in that situation could, as themselves, rise above it, but then they ended up giving him powers. So my question to you guys would be, which would have been more original in that execution? Would it have been better in that way to see Deku never get any powers, or is it better to see him inherit All Might's quirk? What do you guys think?
You wanted to see Batman and you got Booster Gold.
I suppose so. Well, but I'm not sure how that... Okay, never mind. Explain how that analogy works out there, DJ.
Well, Batman is a self-made hero, has no powers. He's just super buff and rich.
Mm-hmm.
Booster Gold stole all his powers from the future just to get rich.
Okay.
So you wanted one that made himself up into a hero instead of the one that was just handed powers.
Oh, I see. Well, I wouldn't even say that because Deku is still very much making himself into a hero. what are we, 5 seasons in and he's still not quite there yet?
No, he's
5
there.
seasons and everything's gone to crap.
Okay.
No, he's definitely there. He's already
Not as in the story is bad. It's just everything's going to hell.
Okay, so I don't think that he's not. I wanted to see someone who's powerless rise up and use his wits, or maybe find another way to become strong in a world full of superpowers. I don't know.
I think that would have been boring.
You think so?
I actually think that. Yeah, I think that would have been a mistake, and that would have been boring. Because, like DJ said, I was going to say the same thing. You basically have to turn him into Batman, or he has to be some kind of like smart, clever guy who can like aggregate or direct powers or something like that. Like you'd have to like do like a sidestep thing, but that's not what they're doing. They want to tell like a proper superhero story, and the point of him being born quirkless. That wasn't them abandoning. Oh, that's an interesting thing they had there. The reason they had him born quirkless and being handed powers is he had to prove that he was worthy of having powers. Because one of the problems with powers being so saturated, it's like 3 out of 4 people in this universe have superpowers, is that most people, since so many people have powers, not everybody is worthy of being a hero. But the hero industry is a huge industry, and tons of people want to become a hero because it's popular and profitable and sought highly of in society to be a hero. So you have this problem of a saturated market where there's too many people trying to be heroes or play heroes, but they're not worthy of being heroes despite the fact that they had powers. So Deku, being a quirkless wonder, had to prove that he was actually worthy of wielding powers relative to most of the rest of society. And once All Might saw that this kid was actually had the qualities of being a hero, he's like, that kid is a hero with or without powers. Now I just have to give him the tools so that he can go become the greatest hero. And so that's why you're wrong, and they did it right, and it was planned from the beginning. It was not a missed opportunity. It really would have been a hindrance, and they would have been telling a completely different story.
So if we're dealing with originality is not really a thing, but we're looking for quality in execution, then it sounds to me like Deku is too similar in concept to Captain America. So what separates them in terms of how original are they from each other, and what makes Deku great versus what makes Captain America great? Is there any differences, or are they pretty much copies of each
Deku
other?
hasn't had a chance to hit Hitler yet.
No, I'm going to offer an affirmative defense here. You're right. They're not different. I think they're quite deliberately very much the same, and I don't think that's a problem. Because All Might is clearly modeled after, and this, thank you for making me think about it. I hadn't even thought about this before. All Might is clearly modeled after Superman. He's like he's anime, he's inspired by Superman. And that's a really cool thing you just brought up. Deku is inspired by Captain America, because you're right, it's the same idea. No superpowers, had to prove they were worthy of being a hero. Although Deku, the difference is, Captain America wasn't in the context of an overly saturated superhero world. Because remember, when Captain America became Captain America, there really weren't any superheroes yet. He's the first Avenger, right? So the difference is Deku had to stand out of the crowd of everybody trying to be a hero, whereas Captain America, with a similar proving himself starting point, had to become a hero in a world that needed one. They were lacking heroes, and they needed one. Whereas Deku had to prove himself, but that was in a world where they were oversaturated heroes, and they needed the true hero. So they're very similar, but they are just different enough. And I just don't think it's a bad thing that they're that close to each other.
Silver Quill, it sounded like you had something to add a second ago. Did I hear correctly, or what thinks you?
Well, I would argue that there is at least some difference, but I can see what you're talking about in the proving, and maybe in fact the world is the critical difference.
How so?
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Well, if I can paraphrase, at least as I think I understand, Captain America is born into a world deprived of heroes. They are on the rise, but he's an established hero by that time. Deku is born into a world oversaturated with heroes, who in many ways forget what a hero is supposed to be. A similarity between the two characters is that they represent an ideal. Captain America fought for the ideal America, the best of us. Deku is fighting to be the best hero, the ideal that is not associated with popularity or financial wealth, but rather being there for other people. In that way, they are very similar, and yet the worlds they inhabit are very almost polar opposites.
Right. Yes, exactly. That was exactly what I was trying to say.
So the originality in this case pertains to the world setup, even though one could argue very heavy similarities between the two characters.
Then the next question would be, is there anything that predates My Hero Academia that has an identical world to My Hero Academia? As I was asking the question, my brain said X-Men.
I was thinking Ruby.
This is the day.
If you want a world similar to My Hero, that'd be Sky High.
Ah, yes.
There you go.
Although the fact that Ruby's the first thing you think of, I feel old for thinking X-Men. I'm old. I'm so old.
It's okay.
You're just as old as you feel.
Well, you can still feel superior, Silver. X-Men has redeeming qualities, unlike Ruby.
Oh.
Oh.
All right.
I
So
like Ruby.
well,
Watch anime, so.
well, I'm sorry, Sophia, that you like Ruby. Anyway,
Ruby is not anime.
Okay, so there's X-Men, but do we think My Hero is derived from X-Men, making it unoriginal, or is My Hero its own separate thing, and X-Men coincidentally happens to be similar, which would be a good follow-up question here too, is how much does coincidence have to play into it? Because
wouldn't X-Men be the flip of the My Hero world? Because in the My Hero world, it's the people with superpowers that have all the rights and privileges, when in X-Men, it's the mutants that are fighting for rights and privileges.
Well, I guess that's
think they're very
differences in the
different.
story there, but there's a lot more mutants in X-Men. It almost seems like it's most of the world.
They're still a minority
No,
population.
X-Men is the
They're still
minority.
They're very much a minority population.
Okay.
Oh, but
Like maybe one in 100,000 are if that might be too much. It might be like 1 in a million. But remember, that's still, if there's 7 billion people on the planet, 1 in a million is like, can't math, 70 million.
Where in
7
My
million?
Hero, it's like 80% of the world
7 million.
has powers.
Mm-hmm.
700 million. No, I was right. 70 million. That'd be like 70 million people for 1 in 100,000.
Okay, so
I can't do math. It's still a lot.
Is a
It's
world
very much minority.
is a world like like My Hero Academia derived from X-Men, and if not, how much does coincidence play into whether or not originality is dead? Let's say DJ and I have never met each other, and we both write 2 scripts that are basically Pocahontas and Avatar, where they're the same thing with slightly different skins. Which one of us is original, right? Or is
if one of you wrote X-Men and one of you wrote My Hero Academia, first of all, I'd be hitting both of you up for money, and second of all, I would not accuse either of you of plagiarizing the other. They are definitely different enough. They're very similar in their core concept, but then again, that core concept is very common and unoriginal, I guess, of having some kind of superhero universe.
So, Cruiser, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. What do you think about that situation of people who coincidentally plagiarize each other, or unintentionally, where they just 2 completely unrelated people happen to write the same story or the same character? What do you think?
This spun kind of out of control. Yeah, because you guys are going off on anime, and like I said, I don't watch anime, so I have
But
no
we've
idea
explained
what
that we've explained the premise to you enough that you should be able to sort of grasp the concept of what we're talking about here. But even if you take anime out of if you take it My Hero Academia out of the question still stands.
As far as what you said about of coincidence, I see this quite a bit in like in the world of stand-up, where you have two comics who told the same joke, and some accuse plagiarism, some say coincidence, and honestly, you really can't prove either of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because, well, who's to say that this one guy just stole a joke, and who's to say that he didn't come up with it on his own? It's like I said at the beginning of the stream, that there's 8 billion people on the planet. People are bound to come up with the same thing.
Okay, so Cruizer, you're going with sort of a monkeys on a typewriter analogy. Am I right here?
My point is that I just don't see how you can prove if someone stole it or if it was just a coincidence.
Oh, I think that relies very heavily on wording and delivery.
Yeah.
Okay. So
in a particular instance.
All right, so if something is derived from something that's older, and it's pretty much the same thing but slightly twisted, does that make the newer thing that's the same as the old thing, does that make it original?
You're getting into a derivative argument now, which is relevant to the topic. The difference between inspired by and derivative.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, that would come out in the execution, because if you watch X-Men and My Hero Academia side by side, you would be like, oh, there's similarities in concepts, but these are absolutely not derivative of each other, regardless of which one came first. Whereas like something that's derivative, you can tell, because the way the characters are portrayed, the way the story is told, it's clearly not, it lacks its own ideas. It's clearly just hitting the same beats that the thing that it's derivative of comes from.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they want to add or take away from that?
Oh yes, I've been containing my outbursts.
I'm sorry, Silver. Go for it.
Oh, y'all are driving me bonkers here. Because here's the thing: My Hero Academia may seem like it's very similar to X-Men. What's the similar premise? Being born different. Go back further, and you have the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Go back further, and you've got Heracles, however you wish to pronounce it. Being born different is the core idea. And how the characters respond to it, how others treat them because of it, that is the exploration. That's the unique element for each story. And all of this goes to my much beloved topic of archetypal stories. That an archetype is not just a trope, in my eyes, is the beats of a story, but without a humanizing core, something that connects to us on a personal level, then it's just sort of empty. It's an empty story. It's just repeating the beats over and over. So, in this talk of originality, there is as has been discussed, the appeal to novelty fallacy. When really archetypes keep expressing themselves in new mediums or new expressions, but the core idea is often very recognizable. So even to say that one is derivative of this other story may be a false statement. It is derivative of an ancient idea, and we are all trying to figure it out. That's what stories do. They help us process the world. And yes, music tells a story in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, tackling the archetypal feelings and ideas through an expression.
Well, thank you for mentioning music, because that's something I wanted to ask Cruizer about, because he's had a lot of exposure to music, and I'd call him a connoisseur. And there's plagiarism suits all the time in music, aren't there? At least you could probably name a few. Am I right, Cruizer?
Indeed.
Yep, exactly.
And there's also the case of whether or not if sampling counts as stealing.
Well, I think if I were to take a stab, I'd say whether or not you claim that your bass riff was original when it sounds exactly like, what Queen did a few years earlier is important, There was one time when I was my first year of community college, I was working with a band, and our goal there was they wanted to commission me for a series of music videos for their new album. And I'm listening in on them practice, and one of them, during one of the instrumental breaks, does the guitar riff from Don't Stop Believing. He swears to God he's never heard that song before and never heard Journey before, but he definitely did that I'm gonna make everybody cringe here. Riff.
Wait, how does that go? I didn't quite get it. Can you do it again?
No, I can't.
I thought I was gonna get him.
I've known you for too long, Cordero. If that album were to go viral, Journey would have sued the heck out of him. But he swears he's never heard Journey's music before. So, yeah. And I believe him. Maybe it was like deep within the recesses of his mind, because how are you an American born and raised in the countryside and never heard Journey?
Born and raised in South Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
Once again, you missed your own joke.
Sorry that my mind is elsewhere at the moment. But anyway, so how much does that kind of thing matter in determining whether or not a musical piece is original, Cruizer?
I think it does matter a great deal, because for starters, if you said, I have a hard time believing that you've at least never heard of Journey. The song, that's somewhat believable, but I guarantee everyone's heard at least one Journey song, whether they know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely been instances where people have, we'll again use the term sampled a song or a riff or whatever to put in their music, and it has happened. It has led to a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know how you can really I'm trying to structure my words here. I don't really know how you can prove whether they're telling the truth or not when it comes to something like this.
So and then another concept when it comes to music that hurts the concept of originality is the four chords of pop.
Oh God.
Yeah, where there's millions of songs that get played with the same set of chords. So what do you think
That's
about?
An overstated point.
Yes, I know it's an overstated point, but I want to know what you guys think about it.
Well, it's not just said too much. It's underwhelming of a point, is what I mean. Like, it's when you study music, to be like, oh my goodness, the four chords of pop over and over again. Can you believe how? It's like saying, hey, this story has. It's like saying every story has a beginning, middle, and an end. It's like, yeah, no shit. Because basically, the four chords of pop is just taking all of functional music and just condensing it into its simplest forms, which is like, and I'm not going to explain these, but it's basically like tonic, predominant, dominant, tonic, and those are just like, think of that as beginning, middle, end, basically, of a chord progression, and that's all that those six chords are. It's a tonic chord, meaning it's your starting chord. It's a predominant chord, meaning it's building into it, and then it's your dominant chord. And dominant chord means you're about to go back to the tonic chord, because they have a direct relationship. Dominant to tonic have a direct relationship. You go dominant, and then you resolve tonic. So it's just tonic, predominant, dominant, tonic, and that's what the four chords of pop are. They're just that. It's just condensed functionality in music. So when people are like, "Can you believe they use the same four chords over and over again?" It's like, yeah, it's like saying every story has a beginning, middle, and an end. It's just simplified music because pop music isn't expressed in super complicated chord progressions most of the time. It's simpler chord progressions with a very expressive melody, and the artistry is in the singing and expression of that melody and the message of the song and the emotion of the song. And yeah, it's like, yeah, there's 4 chords of pop. I used to make fun of it and liked all the jokes of it too, but it's just such an underwhelming point to make. It's just you're just pointing out the skeletal outline of modern music and saying, look how dumb it is. And it doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Does anybody want to add or take away something from that?
Well, I mean, as people have definitely used, the 4 chords of pop a lot. However, while that chord structure is, obviously the same, there are definitely unique elements around it that people have made to help, differentiate, the different songs. There's definitely 4 chord songs that I do like, but I will say what surrounds it is what makes it, I guess you could say, original from others.
Would you say that the execution of those 4 chords matter?
I'd say so. I think execution does matter.
Yeah, because like not all 4 chord songs are created equal. Like within that framework, which is it's just a very rudimentary, basic framework that you can do anything with. Within that framework, there is so much different music that can be and has been created out of that. I'm sorry that it's not the Romantic period anymore, and we don't have like Shostakovich and Stravinsky, and Beethoven and all these people coming up with these hyper complicated symphonies anymore. But like, it's just a different way that we make music now. We don't tend to make popular music that way anymore. It's a simpler it's a simpler function that's and then you just build off of that basic function.
Mm.
So, another question I wanted to ask here is for Sophia, actually, because Sophia, you mentioned video games towards the start of the stream here. So, what I'd like to know from you is what defines originality in a video game.
It's like
Mario.
Yeah, it's like with the Nintendo 64.
Okay, what about the Nintendo
Nothing-
64?
Like nothing. You can almost all the different games has been played with it on it, and then there's like they'll try to like remake it with a newer model.
Okay, so
And
is originality dead in video games?
I would probably say no.
Why is that?
Undertale.
Because it, like, I wouldn't say that originality is dead in that, but they keep on trying to improve it, improve the games, and some can be bad and some could be good. It just depends on what the graphic designs and everything.
How important is the story to the originality of the game?
Like,
would anybody like to add or take away from whatever Sophia has said so far?
Yes, I'd like to chime in on the story aspect of gaming.
Yeah, sure.
One of the developers of Doom early on said that stories in games is like story in pornography. It's just not needed. That was then. As technology has advanced, storytelling has become much more integral. Integral? Integral, thank you. Having a brain fart there. But I think to borrow off what Sophia is saying is that game mechanics may be recognizable between games, but including like a spiritual successor. But the expression of the game overall makes it more original. I'll give an example, although it's a tragic tale. Mega Man was much beloved, and they tried to do a spiritual successor with
Mighty number 9.
Mighty Number 9.
You mean Mighty Number 2?
Well, it did wind up with
I preferred Mambo number 5.
1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4,
Oh
5.
my!
But
I'm not getting that song stuck in my head right now.
I have nothing to do with an earworm. But the thing is, the game mechanic, there were some new things added to Mighty Number 9, but it was, even though it was trying to mimic similar mechanics to Mega Man, the overall expression sadly did not live up. And so they tried for some originality. They also tried for some really crappy marketing. But there's a case where even though there are similar mechanics, there are wildly different experiences.
Okay, so
Yep.
how does that play into the originality of the game itself compared to if they had just done Mega Man as a first-person shooter? What would have changed about Mega Man if it was a different genre, as opposed to trying to remake it as Mighty Number 9?
Actually, it's kind of funny you say that, because that almost begs to switch gears to Metroid. Once a third-person open castle Metroidvania genre, now a first-person shooter in the Prime series. It took different mechanics. Now it was it was the same story, but with a very different mechanic, and as a first-person shooter, a very different experience. Now, and therefore, that was the originality. You have the similar story. People would just say, oh, it's Samus on another alien planet, kill this baddie, get the power up, now you can go over here to kill this baddie. That's the most cynical take on it. But the originality lies in the combination of mechanics to story.
Okay.
And the exploration therein. First-person shooter is, well, not a terribly original concept in and of itself. But you tweak it, you add maybe a new mechanic, some work, some don't. But it's the blending of all the available elements that makes it an original expression.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is you were like, I'll get into an example of a story in game, and it's really quite a tragic one. I was convinced that you were about to say The Last of Us, like part 1 as your example, and instead you go Mega Man, and that's why I burst out laughing, because I was so sure you were going to get into, when you said tragic, I was so sure you were going to go into Last of Us to talk about like an example of like high quality storytelling and gameplay. I don't know, that tickled me to death, and now everyone can share on my brain.
Well, I always try to be a little bit unpredictable.
It was definitely a left turn for me.
Watch as I throw my
Mega Man.
stickers.
Mega
There's a
Man manga.
continuity.
The
Although the
chaos
Mega Man games and manga does often have some pretty dark story lines in them.
So I've got 2 more exercises I'd like to do here tonight. First,
Push-ups.
first is a statement, and I want to get you I'm going to make a statement, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about the statement.
It's
So-
bad.
It sounds like
Mayonnaise is yogurt.
Cereal is soup.
Ketchup and pickles.
I need new
I like
co-hosts. That's my statement. I need new co-hosts.
I do.
So it sounds like because originality is dead, everything is only only matters within the execution of what it is. There's tropes everywhere, and you can't escape them. It kind of sounds like art of any kind is just expression of self, but of self implies some aspect of your humanity, in which most people have an experience in entirely unique ways depending on the individual. So what I'm going to say here, my ultimate statement, is that it sounds like it's not that originality is dead, it's that it never really existed, because any human can experience sadness, anger, happiness, in the whole spectrum of emotions, and then express them in any which way that they see fit. And while the aesthetics may differ from one another, the experiences and the expression thereof are still roughly the same. So originality is not dead. It never existed in the first place. Cruizer, what do you think?
Mind blown. No, it's definitely an interesting way to look at it. And I will say, kind of looking over what you point out with originality in music, and how I just realized, it's what you put around the four chords of pop that make things its own thing. It does kind of answer my question in regards to storytelling.
All right. Sophia, what do you think?
I have no words on that. But except for like the four chords of pop, the only thing I could think of was like with the song Thriller. Like that'll use some of the.
Let's stay on topic here, because we're running a little bit over time, if at all possible. So, do you have anything to say to the statement that I made? Originality never existed.
I wouldn't say no, because everybody could feel different emotions, like if they're happy, sad, depressed, or anything like that. They could do it. Can go through song, it go through books, movies.
That is essentially what I said. Silverquill, what do you think?
This harkens back to the very question of how does one define originality. If you base the definition on the appeal to novelty fallacy, that it must be entirely new or never before experienced, then truly there is no originality. It was dead centuries before we hit the scene. However, if you accept that an idea may not be original, but its expression can be original, then I would still argue that originality does still exist. And you need to stop looking for, has this been done before, but rather, has it been done in this way?
Right. Well,
Cordero,
because it's like, I guess to the point, it would be like, originality seems dead, but then again, somebody had to do it first, right? For every genre and idea that gets repeated and built upon, somebody had to do it first. Like, for example, you based on what we've built on so far with originality, you could say that originality only exists with pioneering and innovation of an idea that actually hasn't been expressed before. Because you could say that like Mary Shelley pioneered science fiction. That wasn't even something that had been thought of before. Like that was a whole new genre that didn't exist before. So like Mary Shelley pioneered that, and then like Jules Verne and H.G. Wells, pioneered the idea of going into space and having stories in outer space. So you could be like, Mary Shelley was original, H.G. Wells and Jules Verne were original, but then Gernspeck was not original. Gernspeck took those now existing ideas and built on them, and kind of standardized them. So like if we look at originality that way, where it's only original when the idea first comes out and is pioneered, and then from then on it's not original, it's just, are you doing a good job, or are you building on those existing ideas well?
So in that case, originality isn't necessarily dead. It would just be going through reincarnation cycles, like some Buddhist Dalai Lama.
We haven't seen the next big idea. The last big idea, in my opinion, because I'm on the topic now, was science fiction. That was the last big novel idea. Imagine if we were in space. Imagine if it was the future. So what is the next big idea that hasn't been thought of before to be expressed?
Indeed.
Imagine if we were all slugs.
And DJ, what do you
Teenage
think?
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
About that.
Well, I can't fully agree with your statement of originality never existed. I think there's just way too many different pieces, parts to storytelling of any type, whether it be movies, games, TV shows, music, whatever, for it to have not to have existed and still exist. There's just way too many moving parts.
Interesting.
And there's too many varieties of combinations that still have yet to be tried or even thought of.
So the arrangement matters.
Yes.
Like sure, all of the ingredients and the pieces have been discovered, but the arrangements of those pieces is what the art is.
Mm-hmm. And there's even more to add on because
And that's original.
it's also going to vary by who's consuming that media. Because it could be entirely new to them. Because when a little kid first sees Star Wars, to them, it's the newest thing ever. It's new to their brains. Yeah. Whether something existed before it or not doesn't matter to them.
Yeah,
exactly. Just make sure it's the original trilogy that they see first. Set the bar high.
How dare you? How dare you?
Show them Solo a Star Wars story first. Make sure that's
let's not destroy the franchise for them here.
What about one?
I'm okay with Rogue One.
Thank you.
Show them the holiday special.
I said not destroy it.
That is it. Burn wedge.
What if you showed your kid the holiday special when they were young and they freaking loved it, and then they go and watch the rest of Star Wars and they're like, this sucks, I hate it.
Not only do they love the holiday special, but then they go looking for more, and then the next thing they find is droids, and they love that too.
There you go.
Ewoks cartoon, the live action Ewoks movies.
Oh geez.
I will love and accept my child for who they are and not who I think they should be.
But
you said that with so much doubt in your voice, Silver.
It is an act of courage to trust rather than worry. But at the same time, I would just say, hey, do you want to maybe give these other movies another try, like in 5 years or so? A little while into the belt.
Poor Silverco, he'd be like, can't you just be trans or something? This is way too hard for me to deal with.
Wow, Cordero, and YouTube just shut this video down.
Yeah.
Oh, I get
demonetized.
Oh, yeah, I give a frick. Anyway,
demonetized, blocked, and banned in copyright strike.
Where's the copyright? Okay. Next, the last exercise I wanted to try for tonight is let's go around the table here, and we're gonna try to come up with an original story. And everyone else on the table has to shoot your originality. Try anyway to shoot your originality down. I'm looking for something like, oh, that's just X mixed with Y. And if we can't do it in X mixed with Y, then you win. You've come up with the next original idea, and I will personally make that movie. Sound good?
It's $1 million idea time. Here we go.
All right. So, by the way, since I know Hollywood and the NSA is listening, patent pending on all these ideas. If you take them, I want my money. You know? Shut up. Anyway, okay. So I'll go first. This is one I wrote a while ago.
Disney did it.
Shut up.
This is probably gonna be right though.
This is one I wrote a while ago. It was a superhero idea, but then I decided that's too much like everything else. So now it's a clan of ninjas living completely off the grid, fighting a cyberpunk dystopia.
Ninja Turtles.
Is it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Ironically, yeah.
So the only thing I've seen of Ninja Turtles is some of the cartoon and the first two live-action movies that came out in the early 1990s.
That's almost literally the fast-forward season, isn't it?
Okay.
not have
Okay, Boomer. That's like the oldest. Yes, the original Ninja Turtles was just like teenage turtles in like 80s New York. But later Ninja Turtles is literally like cyberpunk ninjas that you're talking about in later versions of it.
Well, even in the '80s cartoon, they were fighting mechanical enemies, and
That's true. It was cyberpunk then too, because like the Technodrome and all of that stuff. That basically was also a Krang. Yeah,
Well, that was
also
alien.
a cyberpunk universe.
That was alien technology, not. That was science fiction.
Okay, cyberpunk does not have to be man-made. Like it's still cyberpunk is an aesthetic, not an origin.
Okay.
And cyberpunk is dystopian future technology to sum it up. So it doesn't matter if it comes from
surprisingly
aliens.
a lot of Ninja Turtles dystopia
And
fics.
when I think
Ronin.
cyberpunk, I think things like 1984 and Blade Runner, Matrix.
Okay, good. Okay, very good. But you know baby's first cyberpunk, but the overarching concept is just future technology dystopia. That's it. That's the formula. It's that broad.
Okay. So I lose. Cruiser.
I don't think I want to tell my story that I've been working on out loud for the world to hear.
Well, then come up with something else.
Get back to me.
Okay, Sophia.
I actually tried my hand at doing my own fan fiction writing of Inuyasha.
Okay, so what's so that's just Inuyasha mixed with what happens in your story?
I can't really remember much of it because, well, yeah, short-term memory.
Okay, so that's just Inuyasha mixed with anime cringe, which is Inuyasha on top of Inuyasha.
Yeah.
That's like
Yes.
that's like putting powdered milk into your whole milk so you can drink more milk per milk. Silver Quill.
a dragon tears the heart out of a young man and replaces it with a crystal shard of the dragon's own being. He will not restore the human to normal life until he fulfills an agenda on the dragon's behalf.
Isn't that
What
Dragon
Wikipedia
Age?
article are you reading?
That's Dragon Age.
With
Yeah.
Dragon Hearts.
I'm glad someone said dragon heart. I don't feel quite so old anymore.
Dude, you forget. I'm still 36, okay?
Hush, youngin.
I'm 32.
Also,
And you're still watching anime.
I'm obnoxious.
Yes.
Yeah, we've known that.
but I'm actually confused. Dragon Age, I mean, there was drinking the demon's blood. Am I thinking, is there a different Dragon Age of which I'm unaware?
No.
And
Imagine Dragons.
it's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
entirely possible I'm getting it mixed up, but yeah. So you just read off the plot of Dragonheart apparently. Why'd you do that?
Have you not seen Dragonheart?
No.
It's a beautiful movie.
I saw it. Listen, I saw it maybe 25 years ago, and my memory only goes back 20 years.
Your assignment over this holiday season is to go watch Dragon Sean Connery.
Hey,
Which
we
one?
can't even get you to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. Shut up.
All right, so okay, I'll go watch that movie. But anyway, why did you just read the Wikipedia or the Cliff Notes summary of this movie?
Yes.
First of all, that's not at all the summary. Like, what?
Okay. All right. So
Brony latched onto that thing too quick.
I mean,
jeez.
I don't know where you're getting that summary, but that is an idea for a story I have had.
Okay.
It combines different elements of stuff I've been inspired by, read. Funny enough, the story was originally inspired by Dot Hack Sign.
Interesting.
I haven't played the games or seen the anime.
But
Neither-
I played the games.
now, well, hang on. If I go into depth, I'll distract from the exercise. So, but everyone go watch Dragonheart this weekend. It was a holiday movie back then. It's just that, they were kind of having a war. Yes,
Okay.
that's my.
All right, so what do we think of Silverquill's idea?
That's Dragonheart, so
Sounds like an
Yeah,
interesting
there's
video
not
game.
much detail with this Dragonheart.
I still feel like y'all are forgetting what Dragonheart was about.
well,
I've never seen it.
All right, well, you know what? I'll
It's
take your
about
bait. I'll
friendship.
go watch the movie. I'll take your bait. I'll go watch the movie, and I'll get back to you on that one. We'll do a follow-up stream after the 1st of January.
Marvelous.
you still have to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We will get to that in good time.
We will get to that. Okay, Cordero, your turn.
All right, 3 words: pigs in space.
Muppets.
It's just Muppets.
This
Okay.
movie like 5 years ago.
Heartfelt.
Okay. What if I took the Star Trek universe, but instead of a utopia, made it a dystopia, and just spent the entire time talking down to my audience about how they're not woke and diverse enough?
That's
Battlestar Galactica.
No, that's Star Trek.
Hard.
That's Star Trek the right now.
Yeah, that's Star
That's
Trek.
hard.
I don't have an original idea. The closest thing to original idea I have is a fan fiction I'm currently writing, where I have Princess Celestia on trial for treason and model it loosely after the trial of King Charles I of England.
Alrighty then. DJ, give us your original idea.
I had this one some odd years back. A man is wandering the desert after after the world goes to hell and everyone else dies, and he's just trying to survive, even though he's a ghost but doesn't know it.
That's
Would you say
that's Cormac Cork's The Road meets M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense.
How's that Sixth Sense? Isn't that the one with the aliens and water?
No,
No, that
that's
That was Signs.
Oh.
Okay, I'm finding a distinct flaw in our memory on movies. We apparently need to marathon a whole bunch of stuff here.
Okay, so
Yes,
going
we
off
do.
that, I have seen almost no movies from the 80s.
I
Oh,
offended
wow.
you before.
I don't
How about-
watch a lot of older movies or anything M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, 90s kid.
I need to go drink heavily to fill the void in my soul.
implying
I mean,
you didn't
I
before you
about
got
them,
on
but
the
I've never
stream in the
been
first
interested
place.
in them. Like,
Here's
I've
an
never
idea.
seen any
How
of the
about-
Terminators.
how about a young, strong, and talented but very soft-spoken young man in New York City is trying to become the greatest martial arts master in the world, but he gets bogged down by an evil corporate overlord who's trying to take over the music industry, and a local gang leader who constantly wants to get into a fight with him.
Okay, that's Karate Kid, Speed Racer, and Dragon Ball.
It's none of those things. It's literally The Last Dragon. It's my favorite 80s movie.
The last
The
Dragon.
Bruce Leroy catches bullets with his teeth. Who's the master? Show enough.
Oh, yeah,
I thought
Garo.
it
I
was
love
just
that movie.
Spider-Man.
What?
I thought it
Garo.
was just some kind of version of Spider-Man.
Look, if you're talking
No,
about
it's-
a bullet with your
It's
teeth.
just The Last Dragon.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, Bruce Leroy catches bullets with his teeth. He's
Okay.
The Last Dragon.
So it sounds like, I mean, we got close to something original here a couple of times tonight, but it doesn't sound like we quite got there yet.
It sounds like you set us up for failure, and that was your point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yes,
If-
it was.
If the goal
he
is
just tested us.
Which is why we all trolled the question.
What if you take? I've always loved the story idea of getting sucked into a video game, but what if you had to bring stuff from the video game into the real world?
I'm pretty sure they already did that and called it Code
And if you
Lyoko.
die in the game, you die in real life. No one's done that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't watch anime, so
All
It's a
right.
French cartoon.
Let's move on to audience participation here. So we got a few interesting ones I saw earlier in the stream. We're gonna rocket right through them. Angel of Speed says, Brawny Buck, that which has been is what will be, that which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. We've quoted that a few times this stream. Calbeck says, originality is often tied to discovery. So I thought it was really interesting, Cordero, when you started bringing that up, because, Calbeck had said that in the chat at the beginning of the, I don't know if you're stealing from Calbeck or if you two happen to be on the same wavelength. But he says originality is often tied to discovery, as a thought on a subject was not possible before the thing was discovered. For example, I have Fallout in one hoof and MLP in the other. Now watch this. So
I made them both bad.
yeah,
He created the most overrated fan fiction series in Pony fandom.
the fact that there's people that are fans of Fallout Equestria but not Friendship is Magic irks me at times. Black Void Dragon says, "Hey Brawny, if creating a tragic backstory for a character is cliche, then what would be a better way to create a compelling and original backstory that would engage readers?" So I think this is a good question to bring to the table here. To answer it myself, it's definitely very difficult. I think you're going to attract a like-minded audience regardless of what you produce. So if you create a tragic backstory, you're going to attract an audience that likes tragic backstories. Cliche is going to be in how believable is it, or how cookie cutter is it? How good are you as a writer or as an actor that you can convey these emotions and have that effect on your audience without it feeling artificial or ignorant? So to the rest of the panel here, if you guys were going to substitute tragic backstory, but still try to engage your audience in telling the backstory of your original character, what would you do? I'll leave it open.
Weird Al.
You're just avoiding. So you're avoiding tragic backstory, like the tragic backstory trope.
Yes.
Well, then you would just start from a point of relative comfort and then have tragic things happen to them.
Well, if you want it to be quote unquote original, what's so tragic about it? That's always going to be different.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there because if you have someone who has this really wholesome and secure upbringing, that's fine. You can actually do a lot with that. But then the world has to be utter crap. It has to be a knockdown, drag out, everything's miserable. And this character, through one means of storytelling or another, is now confronted by this world. At which point you have a branching path. It may become it may become a flat character arc in which the character does not change, but their impact changes the world. Or the world changes them, and it's something of either a coming of age or tragedy story, or both, in which you see how the world changes this previously secure and somewhat innocent character.
Interesting. Anyone else want to add to that?
I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, I
So-
can't
so
think of
that-
anything.
So he was thinking of like a coming of age, loss of innocence story, which is where the tragedy
Possibly.
comes from.
Possibly.
Wait a minute, Brony. You want us to write? So you want no tragic backstory, but are you trying to get us to write Cozy Glow?
No, I'm just trying to get us to answer Black Void Dragon's question.
Okay, Cozy Glow. That's my answer.
But a lot of people really didn't like Cozy Glow because of the fact that we know nothing about her.
She didn't need a
Her-
backstory.
Her reveal was funny. Her tragic backstory is she's annoyed that she doesn't have a tragic backstory. That was hilarious.
Well, to be fair, Brody, the question was how to make it not cliched, not make it good.
There you go.
Well,
We
not
just have to
not
subvert
not,
expectations. We don't have to make a good movie.
not cliche is well, I've always, and I don't think this is actually the way it's defined, but I think most people would call cliche bad, but trope is just the nature of storytelling. So all stories have tropes, but not all tropes are cliche.
But also, I'm going to have to call us all out on the fact that the story I just outlined, that could easily be described as Charles Dickens' Great Expectations.
Mm.
Okay.
Nobody called me out on that.
So, okay, so I kind of have a point. Maybe there is no originality left.
There we go.
If you could listen closely, you'll hear Charles Dickens rolling in his grave.
What if Charles Dickens? What if Charles Dickens but Muppets? Has that been done?
The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes. The Muppet
Like the
Christmas
lamp,
Carol is
like the
by
lamp, not the rat.
Charles Dickens.
You know, at this point, I can't tell if you guys are being sincere or trolling anymore. You've gone back and forth so much.
I've been sincere
We're
this whole
never
time.
sincere. Just assume never sincere.
Yeah, Zeus Assassin says originality is dead when it comes to Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Jasper Flair says role plays are a gateway to original ideas on Roblox.
On
Wait,
Roblox.
Part.
I don't know why he needed to put in Roblox. He could have stopped at role plays are a gateway to original ideas, and I might have agreed. And then he threw the Roblox in there for absolutely no reason. But anyway, what do we think about what Jasper Flair said?
I think Paw Patrol is just the latest version of Pound Puppies.
Yeah, it really truly is, but different.
Well, I haven't seen either, so I don't know. I mean, they're both just shows about dogs, right?
Pound Puppies had a show.
How is Pound Puppies not just a rip-off of Blue's Clues if we're going along those lines?
Because I think Pound Puppies came first.
I think Pound Puppies is older.
All right, well that would
Yeah,
do it.
I've seen Pound Puppies, and they are much, much older than what Blue's Clues and
Littlest Pet Shop.
yeah.
I was
and
trying to find a
Paw
way to
Patrol.
come up to bring up Littlest Pet Shop.
Okay.
I feel so old.
And that too, yeah. I
Head.
also watched that
This
too.
makes Silver feel bad hour now.
All right.
Silver, I know all these properties too. Okay, I've seen Pound Puppies. Okay, calm down.
Head
Endless.
Frecker says originality can't be dead since all you come up with is original, even if something similar has already been done in the past. So he's going against what we've been saying a lot, in that, you know, there's either originality is dead and that's a good thing, or originality never quite existed. He's saying the fact that you think makes it original. So originality is a completely individually subjective term. What do we think about that?
I think therefore I'm original. I mean, good luck. Go forth with that, and good luck with not running into copyright issues.
Well, I think that goes back to what I was saying about how even the most similar things, there's going to be different pieces in the different order.
Yes, I think Skywalker and I are of agreement that originality is not something entirely new from nothing, but rather your own spin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there are stories that have come out that are very clearly sliced and diced from other stories, and there's not a lot of spark of personal expression in it. It's just copy paste to cash in.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, I would challenge that just because you thought of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is original. It means that you know what you like, but you haven't explored it on a personal level.
I saw someone in the chat here. Calbeck says originality is dead. The screen is covered with pony OCs. Well,
I am again.
So
I am.
That's fair.
and to be fair, you were, to my knowledge, the first hippogriff.
Well, okay, technically not true. You're off by a couple centuries, but
Well, you know what I meant in terms of Brony. You were the first hippogriff original character meant to have come from the Friendship is Magic universe.
but you see, that's the thing. That's the thing I've been trying to argue. In the sense of something truly never seen, I'm not that original, but a hippogriff in the My Little Pony style. That was pretty novel. I don't mind patting myself on the back for that. So there's some originality there. It's not pure originality.
Yeah, and but then outside of you, there's not a whole lot of originality here. We've got cringy backstory on the far right of the thumbnail here. We've got blonde unicorn. We've got blue pony, which there's a million of, and then blue pony with a stupid hat. So, how many of those do you see just browsing film fiction?
Don't forget, I'm secretly an omnicorn, which is more powerful than even the alicorns.
Right. Now
original.
that actually is original. I haven't seen that very often. They usually just call it like an alicorn and then give it like Super Saiyan hair. Zeus Assassin says, is originality, and I'm going to tack onto his question, or lack thereof, a valid criticism against something? His exact words were, for respected critics. So should critics be playing the originality card as part of their criticisms?
No, because it really means nothing. If they want to be honest about it, it's just what they should be saying is, I've seen this before in such and such. The originality is just too much of a buzzword at this point.
All right.
Well, to tack on to that, whenever people are starting to point out the originality flaws, what they're really saying is, this failed to connect with me on a personal level. Instead, my mind went to a story that used similar tactics and did a better impression. So I think the critic then needs to talk about why it fails to make an impression or a connection.
Interesting. And the last one I saw, Herman Sillo says, originality isn't dead. It's stifled by the studio process, which we sort of touched on towards the beginning when Cordero was talking about, the things that the reboots were the only thing that were going to sell, and that's why we have a million of them now. It's stifled by the studio process, and the expression of different story archetypes in unique ways is very alive outside of big studios. So that's a question. Is originality dead only inside popular media? Sounds like what Herman Sillo is trying to say.
Well, like Silver said, a lot of them are missing the spark of individuality. It's made by a committee. There's nothing there that makes it special.
Now, there are some reboots that are wonderfully original in their expression. My favorite being Voltron, Defender of the Universe. Say what you will about the final seasons, but the passion and individuality they put, even while recycling the idea from a show that itself was cobbled together from two separate anime, it is an excellent piece. So again, I find originality even in a, quote, recycled idea.
Yeah. We talked about that earlier too.
Now, if you talk about Voltron: The Third Dimension, I don't want to know you. That's not, what even is that? I don't even know.
Okay, so I think that's a good spot to call it. We're a bit over time, and I've really got to get moving here. So real quick, let's go down and talk about what we learned tonight. Cruizer.
Silver Quill said, I'm being a bit too rigid of what is considered quote unquote original. There's only 7 plot stories to choose from here. So when you're going based on that, that's a bit too much.
Sofia, one thing you learned real quick.
That academia is almost like X-Men.
All
But in
right.
different worlds.
Silver Quill, one thing you learned tonight, if anything.
I've learned that a story that makes the biggest impact may not be original, but it becomes the standard for many.
Okay. And Cordero.
Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter, Seinfeld, Friends, Garfield, and Sex in the City. Those are the 7 stories that have been told, and they will be told till the end of time.
Yeah.
Well, that was your point. How did you learn that? If it never mind, DJ.
Because I said I manifested it.
Okay.
I pioneered it. It's original.
Don't try to figure it out. You'll never figure it out.
You know that's probably good advice. DJ, one thing you learned tonight.
That how to put it in words. That there's many different ways to tell a story, and it's always good to make it on your own.
All right, and I learned a broader definition of the terms for originality as well. Okay, so that was a fun stream. At least I had fun. Did you guys have fun?
Oh,
I
yeah.
got lost several times.
All right, but did you have fun?
Sure.
Sometimes the real debate is the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, getting lost is the fun
debate?
part.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
All right,
That's
so
how One Piece is going to end, right?
big thanks to Silver Quill for joining us for this topic tonight. And big thanks to my generous supporters on Patreon, especially those on the $10 and up tier, such as Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministry, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden Girder, Kyle Christensen, Zaragamba, Rein-Kun, Morningstar, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden MacManx, Easy Mode Gamer, Dark Malcontent, author of the Metaverse series, as well as those who joined us tonight, DJ Skywalker, Sofia, and Pony Cordero. Check out their links in the description if you want to get on the show. I'd love to have you. $1 a month on the Patreon. It gets you in the server where that can happen. Guys, have a wonderful Christmas. Have a great new year. I will see you on the other side of 2021. And say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.